because everyone in the industry wants to make it better. Everyone wants to be a good person. Everyone would like to make creative, interesting art. This is not a question of intention, I think.
István, it's so lovely to talk to you. I'm very
Yes, the same here.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this project you are busy with, and I think it's so high time that this subject is touched and talked about and acted upon. So, what was the whole idea behind the Taming Your Trauma, this project?
The basic idea was um, a result of the occurrence of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was aware what is it like when a performing artist is not able or not allowed to perform, and how big burden that is. And I could assume that this is probably to most of my colleague quite similarly as difficult as I have experienced it. So this is why we wanted to initiate a program which rehabilitates the art of the artist, because of the pandemic and because of the measures that have been posed, and because of not being able to self-express for many of the performing artists.
Well, it's very interesting that that you created something from that experience. I've also spoken to in my project spoken to many dancers, specifically dancers, because I thought of this idea of you not because it's got to do with movement as well, not just expressing yourself through the art, but also I think the psychological side of it, of not moving, not being able to get into the studio, not being able to use your body and connect with other people as well. Did you also find that frustration, the physical frustration, not just the mental frustration?
Well, as I said, I just mentioned that this is unpleasant and it's a burden and it's a bad experience, but it can be a trauma as well. Not necessarily every bad experience is a trauma, or not everything unpleasant is a trauma, but I think this can come to an extent which we can consider traumatic. And answering your question, this does not only follow from the fact that one is not able to perform, but naturally it's very complex and it's composed out of many things. For example, what you mentioned, not being able to share the room with others, or to communicate as usually we do, or not being able to do as much training as we are used to, or rehearsal, or to exchange during rehearsal and the training. This has a great effect. We know also when someone gets injured and not able to perform because of that, it is a very hard physical activity difference from going, let's say, 6 hours a day working in the studio to zero. And that's a shock on the body. Even when someone is in great shape, that did a whole season, and the season ends and goes on holidays, it's a big shock on the body to stop exercising or to stop working to that extent. So yeah, I think that is somewhat a very relevant factor as well.
Yeah, because I thought, because specifically I thought of the dancers, because it's not an instrument, it's not like, not that I say, I think everybody in the world, doesn't matter what you do, you've been affected in a way by this pandemic. But I was just thinking of people who whose instruments are the body, who, it's not something that you pick up. It's not a violin that you pick up, or that you go and sit in front of a piano. It's actually part of yourself that's affected in this way. But now with this Taming Your Trauma, you also touch on other things. You also touch on, for example, the language that's spoken in the language. What I mean is the communication in the studio and the communication between a choreographer and dancer. So this is also subjects that you touched. Where did you think about, when did you think about that, and why is this so important for you to talk about these subjects?
For me, it's important for several reasons. And how we come to this is a simple thought. When we would like to address the trauma resulted from the pandemic, this is not possible to tackle or to work with unless we were to also address other traumas, because these don't come separately in baggages, but they come all together. So if one starts to work on certain traumas, also other will come out if have experienced that throughout the life, somewhere, maybe in the professional life or in the private life or in the education. We don't know, but it can happen. So to be able to address the traumas, one needs to create a safe space. And naturally, it is not possible to create a 100% safe space where one can guarantee that nothing will happen, no abusive interaction will happen, but one can create an atmosphere where everyone works for an anti-abusive environment, where the value is actually a positive communication, where actually we intend to be aware of each other as human beings. So this is how we came to the thought of creating a safe environment. And of course, one of the first things to tackle when talking about the safe environment is the communication, the content of the communication, the interpersonal relationship, the group dynamic, and the communicational structure within every participant of the group.
Mm. And do you think that dancers specifically, because we're talking now about dance as this art form, do you think dancers are used to, or I wouldn't say used to, but they almost not think about this anymore? They just think it's supposed to be like that, or it is just like that, or you know, it's been coming for such a long time. You know, it's almost like a cycle. So it's the from the top to the dancer. So it's and it makes a full circle. So the dancer that was trained in such an abusive atmosphere would become then the teacher doing it that way, because I think this is how we train, and this is how we get the best out of, say, the students or the dancers. Do you think that the dancers are just thinking, well, it's just like it is?
Well, you know, I can't say anything in the dancer's name in general, but
Yeah.
what I can say is that there are many, many different type of dancers, and this topic is thought upon and discussed in very, very different ways in different parts of the world, or even within a company between the members of the company.
Mm.
What I have observed is that you can divide dance artists or performing artists in two major groups. And one group is who would like to be in theater because theater's ethical rules are more bendable and more flexible than, let's say, the outside non-theatrical society expectations, if we can say anything as a societal expectation of behavior, norms we are talking about. And the other group would like to pursue a work, would like to do a job, would like to make the performance as a profession or as a calling or as a mission. However, this can extend to the other group, because that does not exclude that who would like to have more freedom compared to other parts of the society, not have a calling or a mission. And actually this has been the standard up until now, and this was encouraged and this was rewarded, that the pre-selection also considered those factors of being somewhat different, being uh, a person who does not feel chained by the norms of society. This was considered as a creative source, for instance, the bohemian artist, right? This is something that resulted from the 19th century and was really big in the 20th century and was idealized to an extreme extent. And now we come to the 21st century, and I think these dogmas are questioned. And when returning to your question, what do dancers think about it? And I think actually more and more allow themselves to express what they think about it. And of course, there are all sorts of opinions, but for sure now we have more variety of voices present than before.
Mm. Yeah, I do agree. I think it's also a time now where dancers maybe also in this pandemic started questioning certain things, and I think people have really thought about many things in this time. Um, how do you want to put out this project of yours? How do you want to reach people? And what is the dream and the idea of what you want to achieve now?
Well, that's a very good question. Naturally, I would like to support the transformation processes of theaters in becoming emotionally, physically, in interactions a safer place. And to be able to do that, I think many people have to realize that it's on the benefit of the organization if certain communication structures can be worked out, if there is a platform for solution, if there is an encouragement for feedback and even for critique from, let's say, a subordinate. Because if the leadership or the management has the possibility to find out what, let's say, everyone else knows but they don't know, then this is a gold mine. This is a great resource for improvement or for creativity or for going further or achieving goals and objectives better. Let's see, how these ideas are taken on. But I think there is a really high potential that many people would want to take these ideas on, because everyone in the industry wants to make it better. Everyone wants to be a good person. Everyone would like to make creative, interesting art. This is not a question of intention, I think.
Yeah, because it's also true. You working with psychologists as well, and you're working with what scientists are you working with?
Yes. So
Yeah.
we had on this team now two psychotherapists, one clinical
Yeah.
psychotherapist and one psychotherapist and counselor, and a psychologist as well, who also works as a counselor. And we had a neuroscientist who also works as an overall health profession, working with the dance artists. So it was a team of four health experts, And the interesting part was that within the model of the project, they have a very weightful or very worthy say in whatever happens. May that be artistically or may that be organizationally. So what they experience and the information they get, they can actually implement it in the everyday work. They have the possibility to influence decision makings. And I think this is very important, that there is, let's say, a control in a
Yeah.
way that the power cannot be concentrated in one or two person. And I find this an essential point.
And do you think this is also important that, say, ballet companies sort of think about this, that they use these professionals also, or that dancers have the ability to be able to see, say, for example, a neurologist or a psychologist, but that's all part of the training process also for dancers. You know, that their mental well-being is also important in this as I say, in this career.
You know, in my observation, often the health experts in a company are used to fix problems. Problems that have been caused, maybe in the interpersonal relationship structure or maybe in communication. They are there to fix, let's say, a physical injury, or to put together someone to make it for the performance. But what our model is offering is to include the health professionals and especially the mental health experts the prevention in the
Oh, yeah.
prevention and in the structural problem fixing, in a way that we do not want to always treat acute problems that are over and over reproduced, in a way, but we would
Yeah.
like to create environment where certain problems will not occur, or they would occur to a much lower extent, or their occurrence will be fewer than what we know now as an average, or as an average, probably that's the right word.
Yeah. And so will you be now, what is the dream now? Are you going to propose this project to companies, or how do people reach you?
Well, I'm first addressing various umbrella organizations. We will present on several conferences. We are going to also speak on our social media, and we will promote these ideas naturally. But of course, if anyone would like to take contact with us and learn several things, or would like to ask for our support, we're always very open.
So a dancer, for example, if a dancer has, say, problems or anxiety problems or something related to their career or their job, they could also reach out to you.
Yes, and we
The
would be
idea?
happy. Yeah, and we would be happy to refer them to the adequate person who can offer support.
Mm. It was very interesting when I tuned into your live session, and I did raise the question about the schools, because I'm overall in my project I'm very interested in education and in art education, and I'm very much thinking that even in ordinary schools, not just in ballet schools, but in ordinary schools, that dance is a very wonderful way of expressing yourself. Do you think that this is also something that, as dancers and as artists, would be an important uh, project to reach out to, say, for example, schools, to use this as a way of also dealing with all sorts of things, all sorts of therapies and things.
Well, of
Projects
course.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, to answer your question shortly, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
but of course, it is a very complex subject, um, and I think there are lots of hindering misbeliefs that stay in the way of these changes. For example, when it comes to school, it's one of the greatest misbelief that ballet can only be taught with strong strictness and also harsh disciplining tools, which in reality it's not true. But if you would ask many people from the society of the or the dance community, they would be very happy to assure you that there is no other way. And I think this is somewhat what misleads the parents, and which gives a 100% authority to ballet teachers when it comes to any kind of judgment or any kind of decision. The fact that you as a parent or an outsider, you're not part of this, you have never experienced it, you don't know how difficult it is and what it takes to go through in order to arrive to a certain clarity or technical level or quality. But in reality, all these technical level quality can be reached with perfectly student friendly tools and methods. And I would go even further. I think it should not be done otherwise. If someone is not able to teach without, let's say, violating the dignity of or hurting the dignity of the child or hurting the child in a way physically, or causing uh, harm by bad exercises or bad atmosphere, which results in a tension and that results in an overwork or all these things. I think it should be taken much more seriously, and for this to be able to be done, this misbelief has to be taken out from the picture, that yes, it is possible to teach ballet without abuse. And who says other is or purposely or unconsciously not saying the truth and maybe trying to protect some kind of uh, some kind of ideal what one experienced, and would like to think that certain experiences or certain bad experiences were for a reason. But sometimes we just have to accept that we sometimes suffer for no reason, maybe for just someone not being competent or for someone not being okay with themselves. They pose suffering on others, and this is for no reason. This has nothing to do with later becoming a great dancer or arriving to a good career or succeeding in dance. This has really nothing to do with that. And I realize many people think that sometimes when they actually experience certain abuse, they later on legitimize it. Well, that was necessary. This is why today this and that. This is why I am this and that. This lead me to this. And I'm thinking, and why don't we think that way, that despite those experiences, you arrived to this wonderful career or this wonderful success. And imagine what could have been even if you didn't have that hindering force with you.
Well, I totally agree. And these words that you were saying now, I've actually heard before. I've heard someone saying, if it wasn't for this harsh treatment that I received in the school, in the ballet school, I wouldn't have been able to survive the career. And that also I find sad, that you think that you had to endure to prepare you for something. And maybe you are right, this is people's perception, and it's advocated that way, and it shouldn't. So I'm really I'm supporting this project of yours totally. I think you are very brave to have started it and to have done it in such a great way, with professionals, and really proving a point and standing this ground. Congratulations for that. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So are you also teaching, or are you still dancing?
I'm still dancing, and I am also teaching, and I'm also organizing. And this is also something that I would like to promote in a way, because when it comes to a certain age, or even when someone has an orientation to go towards other profession, the first question arises: so you are preparing for your future, you are thinking about a transition. And this is also, I think, a false dilemma in a way, because if you'd like to do other things as well, this doesn't mean that you can't keep dancing. I think, of course, it is a matter of choosing carefully what you dance and how you dance and where you dance and with whom you dance and who creates dance for you. These are, of course, very relevant and important questions, but it's not an exclusive factor that one, let's say, is more involved in management or start teaching. But actually, as we said in the beginning, this is a self-expression. So who is to say to a painter to stop painting after a certain age, or who is to say to a musician to stop playing your instrument? This is the same in dance and in ballet. How come anyone says that, oh, you have reached a certain age, you better stop self-expressing?
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Yeah. Because this is also what people say. They always say, because your career is so short, they say to dancers,
Yeah, but we
they
make
say,
it so
yeah.
short. We shouldn't make it so short. I mean, why aren't we working with uh, a wider population of, let's say, more mature people? How interesting is that when you arrive to, let's say, age of 35, 40, as a performing artist, you have already developed such a wonderful toolkit. You know how to behave on stage, how to time things, how to express, to really make a strong effect. And then we were to throw that all in the garbage. Why? I really do not
Yeah.
support youthism in dance, and there is a great tendency that we, as a whole dance, big global dance community, we tend to have younger and younger people. For what reason?
I totally agree with you there, because I think it's also the experience of the artist that we need on the stage.
Yes, because that's very valuable.
Mm. But I hear that quite a lot from musicians, where younger musicians actually want to play with more mature musicians, because of the experience that they have, and that they learn by playing together, and that they learn by being together with them. And actually, in like you say, in ballet, it's about younger and younger, and maybe the this that you say, the experience that come with age, could be observed by younger dancers and valued by younger dancers as well.
Yes, but I think it is. It is very much valued. But I think somehow the selection criteria and the priorities are shifting from the decision maker's side.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I understand what you mean.
Because, of course, every artist would like to see around a great artist who you can look up to, who you can learn something from. This is, I think, very natural.
Mm. Yeah, that is true. Well, István, I'm very happy that I could speak to you. And as I say, I support this project a few 100%. And if there's ever anything I can do from this platform, please let me know. If you have new projects or something you want to talk about, then I would be very happy to post that as well and to have another conversation with you, because I think it's very important what you are doing.
Thank you very much. Also
Yeah.
for this nice conversation and also for your support.
No, that's absolutely my pleasure. Have a lovely time. And whenever you are in Vienna, please let me know. I would really love to meet you in person.
And I will, because we are sometimes in Vienna. We like to be there.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, same from our side.
Okay.
I wish you a very nice day.
Thank you. You too, István.
Bye bye.
Bye.